about that chirp life. Yeah, without a doubt. West Coast water boys drill can't be left out. The trilogy, the three from me, they be dabbing right. Yeah, you know why. I'm straight up out and bout. Tough guys can take a hit, yeah, but not from these. Tougher than UFC, they be tapping out.
Hello and welcome to Rodney Hash Podcast, episode 3. Should I say take 2? Had some animal interference here. So there may be some animal interference in the future, just fair warning for all the listeners. But yeah, so I'm sitting here today with a couple of hemp growers based out of Ohio. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to sit with me and talk with me. You guys' brand is Appalachian Girls, correct?
Yep.
We got Matt and Josh here, and I'll let you guys kind of introduce yourselves, give us a little bit of background about you. People are probably going to be a little bit really interested in listening to you. We've been talking for the last couple of minutes, and I think everyone's going to be pretty interested in talking to these guys. They have a pretty extensive background, and I'm excited to share with you guys. So let's start off with you, Matt.
Josh,
I'll start.
Josh.
All right, first, Rodney, thank you for having us up here to talk about this. We love talking about not only our company, but hemp in general and cannabis in general. We're all about hemp and cannabis. So I'm Josh from Appalachian Girls. First question people usually ask is, why is it girls when there's a bunch of dudes? Well, Appalachian Girls refers to our favorite part of the cannabis plant, which is the buds.
Yes.
That we all love and adore. We do have another female co-owner, and she's a killer. Not here, kind of like a ghost rep for us, you know. But we operate in Nelsonville, Ohio, in the old Rocky Boot, so where they used to make and store boots for like years and years in Nelsonville. That's where we operate. We're in one of the poorest economic counties in the state. Also why we called ourselves Appalachian Girls, right? Like we wanted to represent the misrepresented. And I can go on another podcast all about this, but I won't bore you now. But between, you know, the Sacklers and what the DuPont chemicals have done to our region and other ways that we've been exploited as an Appalachian people, that's kind of what we represent. You know, we're down there in the ruins in an area that was thriving at one time, and we want to kind of contribute to the reestablishment of these fine, at least from a natural resources perspective, these fine areas. So that's where the Appalachian name kind of came from. My background is in, well, where I met Matt at Hawking College. So we were both there. What do you think, 03?
I was there in 2000.
2000s. 02. So I met him when he was on his way out. So like in 03, right, I'm at class at Hawking College, and here comes this dude to deliver mail. Like dreads down to here. I'm like, what the hell's going on, right?
It's like you knew you guys were going to
Yeah.
immediately, so yeah.
It was a bunch of hippies
part of that.
Yeah. And then he had G13, so we can get on to that later, which like, I was like, shit, I got a buddy up with this dude. But
G13, like the cultivar?
yeah,
Okay.
like, so it really was in circulation there between the elite head people. And, you know, him. So that's kind of where this all started with me and him, you know. I further went to school to Rio Grande for a bachelor's in environmental science, and then I finished that up with a master's in science at Ohio University, and I studied sustainable agriculture. So that's like really where my heart and passion lies, is in that sector of the industry, and it just, we've always been a good team. So like this is the dude here that the other Appalachian Girls, you know. Tell them about yourself, buddy.
Yeah. Well, like Josh said, we made it down to Nelsonville area in the early 2000s and got our hands on some of the finest cannabis at the time, I guess. And that was just kind of, everybody was like, back then, just everything got shared. It was like, you got this, we tried this, you tried this, here you go. Everything was a big circle. And so we've just been growing for a long time. And then with the hemp bill in 2018 that legalized the hemp cultivation again in the U.S. Opened up the doors for that. I have an 85-acre farm in Meigs County, and with that door opening in Ohio in 2020, I explored avenues to see what was available on a small farm style. We were going to do hundreds or thousands of acres of hemp, and so we found the small smokable market then at the very beginning, and so we do some outdoor crops, and Josh helped doing some consulting and planting and plasticulture and drip irrigation, and went from there. I had been doing dairy farming for 8 years prior to that. I run my own dairy farm. I've had about 20 herd of 20. I was doing raw milk herd share, and we had a small ice cream business, but when the cannabis, our passion and my passion came available to actually grow, it's like we sold the cows and tried to be the tip of the spear.
Have you ever thought about getting back to the cows ever?
Oh yeah,
Especially like if you're making local ice cream.
Yeah, we were going to try to do CBD infused ice cream treats or ice creams, different things. There's a lot to explore there. We're just trying to get our smokable products exactly where we want them to be, and top notch, top shelf. Then we'll move on to future projects. But there's a lot involved, a lot more involved in that with government oversight from ODA perspectives and things of that nature. So bit more and bigger hurdles to jump.
I get it, one thing at a time, you know what I mean? Trying to perfect one thing rather than having your foot in every other thing. Which I can respect that a lot, because I feel like that's where a lot of brands kind of fall short, is they may do a billion different SKUs, but no one can really point to one SKU by anyone that's, this is fire when they do that. Whereas you have people that usually do run smaller SKU sizes or smaller items that they're selling in a dispensary or anywhere, and those products are usually top shelf because you're able to focus in and hone on those things. So I really respect
That's
that.
our goal.
Which I can definitely, we did already partake a little bit in some of your guys' flour, and I will say it's actually really good.
Thank you.
So let's start off with this, like, just because I noticed you guys are doing something different than everyone else is. There's only one person in the metric market who was doing it, who's no longer doing freeze-dried flour. I think that's cool. I think it's really unique. I don't see a lot of people doing it and trying to do it right, because the one company I did work at, they were saying some cultivars came out really harsh depending on how you freeze dry. Nothing you guys gave me was harsh. And we've tried 2 or 3 different cultivars now at least, right? And it was good. It was all really tasty. It was turkey. So it's like, let's start off with what made you guys want to do freeze dry flour?
Well, obviously there was that opening in the market. No one else, we hadn't really seen anybody else doing it, especially at least in Ohio, I guess. I learned about it from a Canadian company that I stumbled across on Instagram or something. We had already purchased our harvest right, and I just thought, hey, let's try it. We had a little bit of flour, and we're still trying to fine tune, like you said, and perfect it, because it's different. It's a little different with size of buds and the whole the process that it goes through. So sometimes it's a little bit longer, but we're still trying to figure out and define the perfect SOP for it. But it's a pretty straightforward process, and it just, the quality, I guess, from you call it a bag appeal, or and just the terps and everything, versus everything seems to be on point, and then after that it's a matter of proper storage.
Yeah. So from there you got because that's essentially the freezing part, but it's not the curing part still. So it's still got to go through the cure process. But another benefit I feel like it has is it only takes 18 hours, 20 hours, somewhere in that time frame to be able to freeze dry. So you can scale that out. You can do whatever you want in that way, but essentially you're cutting that time down significantly, and then everything's still intact. So like all those trichome heads, because me as a hash person, I know that the trichome heads are where all the medicine really is. And I feel like that's probably why your guys' stuff was so terpy, is because of the fact of when you guys freeze dried it, everything's still super intact. So that way, like the traditional way of doing it is hang drying it. Or some people even do just tray drying in general, which I do not recommend. The company I started off tray drying, and we very quickly switched off whole plant hang drying. It's like, yo, this stuff was like dust when you, and that's another thing where I feel a lot of companies fail on, is they can grow the most fire stuff, but how they do it in the drying cure phases really make a big difference. Looking at some of your guys' stuff, and I'll probably end up doing a review here soon. I just got to find the time to be able to do it. But yeah, I definitely will say, like, you guys will all see, like, the bag appeal on it is fantastic. It's out of this world. Like, the trichome heads everything are intact. Everything looks super frosty still. I'm not sure what scale you guys are growing at and how many hands you have in the garden, but I mean, it looks like some stuff that I would see from a small scale home grower that's like really intensive about their stuff. Shout out to Hard Fish Buds. They're growing really fire looking buds. And that's, again, like, you guys are growing really fire looking buds. Like, I really appreciate that. That's something that within the market in general right now, I feel like quality is just kind of diminished. Everyone's focused on grams per square foot and metrics like that, rather than, you know, like
quality over quantity.
Yes, yeah, and that's exactly it. And I can see you guys are definitely focusing on quality over quantity, which I respect a lot.
And that's always been the goal, you know. That's just what, like you said, separate yourself from the rest, and just, you know, as long as you have something that's quality, it will outshine, like you're saying, the tray dry or these other things, and people pick up on that pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's worth mentioning.
Yeah, man, when it comes to doing it small batch, it's easier, you know, but like we can't win at the big game. Right? Yeah. Like, we're never gonna produce the cheapest per gram hemp in THC. Like, that will never happen. Like, we don't have the skills to operate business capital raising to where we're the guys running for the margin. Yeah. You know, like, we gotta keep the quality high. We hand trimmed everything that we got, right? Yeah. And when you talk about hands in the garden, there's like 4 of them here that were in there. There's our buddy, our homie Austin Pooler, gotta mention him. He was in there, 2 hands in there. And then we had the Hawking College interns, you know, so like that was kind of a help as much as you would expect. You know, you got to take time to train and learn and like focus on them, you know, so like
so that slows you down in your production, but ultimately long term it'll help boost production. But they're interns, so it's how long are the interns there for? Right. Yeah. How long are the interns there for usually?
An 8 week. They gotta get there.
6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks. Sorry. So that's
they kind of want to give them the look at everything, you know.
Right. So they gotta do everything during that time, right?
So what exactly is that? So you guys are partnered with Hawking College for?
Josh is actually was a teacher.
So I do cannabis history there.
That's
at Hawking.
I didn't know Hawking had that.
They got a cannabis program there now.
Shout out to Hawking.
Yeah, Hawking College, come take my class, all right? Cannabis, humans, and history. Get signed in. They're only going to take like 30 students total, and I'm sure there's several people in the program already, so let's get the spots filled up.
I mean, I often have people asking me, like, hey, like, I want to get into the industry, like, how do I do it? And I'll be real, like, there's multiple avenues to get into the industry. It just depends on what you really want to do. Right. If you just want to be a cog in the wheel, go join a dispensary. Yeah. They're not looking for someone more often than not that has knowledge or anything like that. But if you really want to be the person that really knows what they're talking about, I feel like that is a really good avenue for people. Yeah. That's just, again, like, that's where the industry falls short, is knowledge. And a lot of people that are operating in the industry, especially growers, have never grown weed.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I can name numerous companies in Ohio in our metric program that their original growers have never grown weed before the job that they're in currently.
Yeah.
And then I've also seen companies that have fired people because they fail at the thing that they've never done before. They've grown tomatoes or cabbage or built greenhouses, things like that. So it's not necessarily their fault that they're failing growing at a massive indoor scale, because a lot of these places are pretty massive, man. Like,
number driven.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's so.
Which is business, I guess, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I respect that. I respect that a lot. That you guys are really trying to push the ball forward in that way too. Like, that's pretty freaking cool, of both Hawking and of you, Josh, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at names, guys. So I may
Soiled Obsessions.
Soiled Obsessions.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. I feel like that's actually a really good segue. By the way, shout out to Tilth Soil over here.
Yeah. We love Tilth.
Yeah, Nate's awesome. All
Yeah,
those guys
he's a
over
great
there are
dude.
cool. They're actually Cleveland based, so I'm Cleveland based myself. You guys drove quite a ways to come up here. I appreciate you for that. Again, shout out to Appalachian Girls for that. Yeah, so do you guys run Tilth often? Have you guys started
No.
with Tilth, or where did you guys? How do you
Tell
guys
them the
soil
Tilth
out?
story.
Well, we met Nate. I guess what year was that? Was it 2022?
The Michigan Conference.
Yeah, we went to the Regenerative Conference put on by Dutch Blooms. Kevin Jodry was a speaker there. We had Elaine Ingham
Elaine
was
Ingram.
on from California. She wasn't there, but personally, but it was whatever.
Yeah.
Who else was there? Anyway, a bunch of great speakers, all on regenerative.
The post root beer strain.
Dutch, Josh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Sounds like actually a really cool conference.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
it
I
was-
seen Nate post about it this last year, but I didn't. It was the first I'd seen it.
Well,
so it was like, wow, I didn't.
I don't know
was-
that he was even in there. He was out.
No, he was there. He was giving out free bags of the compost. We got some of the Wendell from him, and then some of, I think, the Bloom mix, I think it was.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
sir.
just so everyone knows, if you guys are growing cannabis, the Bloom mix is the mix that you do want for your cannabis. Don't make the mistake of getting the grow or the sprout. The sprout is great for seed starting, but the Bloom, to my understanding, I feel like you could probably elaborate way more on this, because I am not a soil nerd in any way, shape, and or form.
Yeah,
But,
we're,
like,
we're
he's-
still learning, and Josh is. But yeah, we purchased about 8 yards of the Wendell compost from Tilth. We blended our own living soil from the Coots mix recipe, or I guess the Build a Soil 2.0 recipe, which either
Okay.
I think it's based the same. It's the same, and we mixed it all. We actually took a drive to Virginia to buy a bunch of the amendments directly from the bigger farm, and drove back and blended 25 yards.
Out in the yard
Yeah, and then
at our
facility.
at our
in Nelsonville
facility
there.
that we share with like 80 other companies. So we're just out in the yard
Yeah.
mixing
These
soil.
guys, they thought we were crazy, but yeah, weighing up amendments and. But yeah, it was, it's just a 3-part peat moss compost from Tilth, and then aeration that we used rice hulls and perlite, because hummus is too much to ship. It's an ungodly amount to
Hummus?
hummus rock. Yeah, so it's kind of
Okay.
like a
Oh,
lava
hummus
rock.
rock.
Yeah.
I thought you said hummus, like.
Oh yeah, like the
Like the
bread.
food.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Where does this fall?
I'm like, I've seen people using like, not peat moss, what is the word? Molasses and stuff like that in their mix. So I'm
Sure.
like, all right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
hummus,
baby,
I guess is
hummus.
Yeah, right. Feed
I'm
the
like, wait, am I
feed
about to
those
learn some
microbes
really-
somehow? Yeah. New batch.
Hummus, all right. I was like, hummus. But yeah, that's
We got
that's pretty sick.
we special ordered the grassroots beds, the cloth aerated beds with the trellis incorporated, and we had them 25-foot long ones made for our space. We have our space is about 1,500 square feet total. We have about just over 1,000 in the bloom room, and then 4 25-foot beds, 4 by 25-foot beds. Plenty of room to get around, and
Okay. That's still a lot of work for, you said 2-3 people plus a couple of interns every rotating. I feel like the interns at 8 weeks is almost more work than it is actually like hands on deck. Like, yeah, it's hands on deck, but
Right.
I think you got to spend
Maybe a little bit on deck.
6 out of those 8 weeks training, essentially. Like,
Yeah.
if you're training them across the field, like,
Well, it's even just teaching about labeling and proper labels and to, you know.
and we know how important that is.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have been in the game for a long time. How many times has there been a genetic where you're like, oh man, this is supposed to be like that thing, but I'm pretty sure it's that one.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no, we killed all of that one. And I'm like, no, this is definitely different. This is
Outside
definitely
of
that
that,
one that we killed and just somehow say like that's. So yeah, proper labeling and everything. You guys really go the whole 9 yards with everyone. That's pretty cool.
Well, not only he was talking about labeling from like a product perspective.
Even that,
like
too,
we
yeah.
walk them through, like they don't get enough, right? Because like they gotta come in, they gotta do some cloning work at some point with some plugs. So that's like one of their full days, you know.
Yeah.
Then they're moving into like if we have a crop in cycle at the time,
Right.
then they'll be feeding, but then they also get to be there to extract in the kitchen with the bulk extractor.
Okay.
Then all of our interns get to press rosin, and they also
That's
get to
pretty
learn
cool.
how to dry if there's a crop hanging.
Yeah.
But also we make gummies with them, so they're in the kitchen too. So like it's a lot of time of us focusing on them. It isn't like, oh, the interns are here now, we can trim this crop. Like that doesn't work out like that at all.
But I like that a lot because I feel like you're really showing them a wide variety of things. Like this is like legitimately, the more I hear this is actually sounding like the perfect thing for someone to understand. Like, because across that whole spectrum of things between cloning and making edibles or rosin pressing or drying and curing, each one of those individual things, like if someone really wanted to hone in on just one thing, they could spend a whole career path out of learning tissue culture and cloning.
Right.
They could spend a whole career path off of being a post-processing dry and cure guy, like being the guy that goes around and consults everyone on how to do that. They could be someone who works in the kitchen, and working through that internship program, they'll really be able to understand not only
What they like and what suits them best.
and how everything interacts among it too.
Yeah.
So it's like you guys are, that's
And like you
props
mentioned,
to you guys. Seriously,
Yeah.
that
Like you
is
mentioned,
fucking
some of
awesome.
these-
we
some
try,
of these,
man.
some of these kids, and I call them kids because I'm old, but you know, they don't have any experience with any of it. And the program at Hawking is more a lab-based program than like a cultivation-based program. So it's more a laboratory-based program, but also something that, you know, since we're technically hemp, some of these kids aren't quite 21, so they don't have the ability to go do their internships at a medical marijuana facility because they're not of age to be working in that field. So that gives them an option if you're 18 or older to be able to still get your internship and fulfill the program.
Which a lot of our students are under 21.
Yeah.
You know.
Which that's actually cool too, because in all honesty, a lot of people get into the cannabis game and don't realize like this is real work. Like this is a job. This is fun. No matter what you're doing. I mean, you guys are laughing, but it's like from a lot of people. I mean, you guys probably see within the internship how many people get in there and they're like, "Bro, what do you mean I gotta prune these plants for till it goes dark?"
Yeah, you know, you get your handful. Some are really into it and want to learn, and some of them are just, hey, we're just here to get our hours. You know, so you get your mix.
And then a lot of them realize it's not for me, and that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's cool. But I'd rather them know that than spend 3 years of their life from 18 to 21 and be like, "This is headstrong what they're about," and then get into it and be like, I ain't touching that ever again.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, you just spent 3 years idolizing. Like,
yeah.
I really wish that we could have got them headed, like, to not have to worry about that, to where they have that chance to be like, oh, no, this is cool and all. I respect you guys for doing it, but maybe it's not me. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm more of maybe I want to be more the lab guy.
Yeah.
And I can respect the guys who are in the farm, and you guys make the difference for what I do in the lab, because as any good processor may know, fire in and fire out. If you don't have good inputs, it doesn't matter how much you remediate something, you're not going to have a good output.
Yes, sir.
So you guys are, again, really focusing on quality and product. I appreciate that because it's, again, something we don't have in this market. People go in the Michigan market and they're like, yeah, we can buy really cheap flower. I mean, bro, I can buy an ounce up there for like $20 of shake or cheaper, but it's not good.
Yeah.
It's really not good.
Yeah.
But then you'll also see a couple micro businesses. Shout out to
Clutch. They make some pretty good.
Clutch has good products for sure.
Yeah.
But I was thinking micro business licenses up in Michigan. There was Winewood Organics. But yeah, shout out to Clutch because Clutch is in Ohio and they're...
Well, I only go to
cool.
Michigan every so often, but if he goes, I'm like, bring me back one of those Clutches, you know. So.
Oh, it's
Or churches. Church, not Clutch. Sorry.
I was like,
sorry.
Clutch
Churches.
is Ohio.
Churches.
Like, hold up, wait.
The Churches face pens up in Michigan.
Okay, Church has got a really cool brand name behind them too.
Yeah.
So they've got good hardware for sure.
Relevant, but yeah, that's the only one I know from up there because I liked it when I was up there.
Yeah.
And I don't spend money on products. We don't normally spend too much money.
Oh. Got
Thank the Lord.
Sorry.
refreshments.
refreshments. I'll take
Thank
one of
you.
those 7-Ups over there.
I
Do
got
you guys want one?
I'll take it. I'll
green
take something.
tea, lemon tea, Canada Dry, root beer,
I'm okay for it
7-Up.
I'll take a root beer.
You want a root beer?
Thank you.
Yeah, if it's not cold enough, I can get you a cup
Thanks,
of ice.
Skylar.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
you
guys.
good?
Shout out
I'm for
to
now,
my
yeah.
Okay.
girlfriend.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
Coming in on the refreshment up.
I gotta
Perfect
do some
timing.
other running around, so have fun.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too.
It's always nice having a good woman around.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Again, love the name Appalachian Girls because I feel like that is something that the industry doesn't realize is that the part of the plant that we actually really want is the female plants. Like, it's not to say that males are bad because we need them for breeding,
Yep.
and that's important. And I feel like that's a good segue to talk to you about some stuff. But the female is the part that we really smoke on. That's the bud sites. Those are the flowers. So that's the important part. So it's cool that it's Appalachian Girls. But again, perfect segue. So you also do a bunch of cloning stuff, right?
Yeah, we have, well, with some of these farmers markets that are popping up all over the place, we've been trying to go and offer some of the newer genetics. I've kind of amassed a small army,
To say the least.
about 80 different varieties, and we're in the process of hop slating testing most of them, and you know, we have a whole list that we have already tested, but we've been just going to these shows and offering different genetics, and we're going to try to create something new and unique for Appalachian Girls here. Hopefully to move into the adult use program here in Ohio and something unique under the Appalachian Girl brand.
Are you guys trying to get into the adult use market?
Yes,
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. That's our main goal.
Yeah, that is the mission. It's just all the loopholes and barriers.
Yeah.
But I won't cut him off. He was heading to some good stuff out there.
No,
we're
we're just
definitely
talking
gonna
about
do that.
making new genetics and using some of our genetics, you know, that we've had for, you know, 20 years now, like the Lemon G and the older G13s and the Death Stars, maybe not quite that old, you know.
No, is
06, 08.
is the Death Star stuff you guys have, is that from like the original Teen Death Star cut?
I mean, I
you
can't
guys are in
claim
Ohio,
that.
so-
I mean, we've had it since
Forever.
06
We've been doing
or
Death
08
Stars.
or whatever, you know, so that's
Does
what I
it
know
have-
to be the Death Star.
Does it have that burnt rubber smell to it?
Somewhat, yeah, gassy, burnt rubber, I guess however you, I know guys.
You know,
I'm not a
it's
guy
like that.
down
That's
here.
still one of those things that is temperamental to the environment. You know,
True.
sometimes you have that same cut that might smell more
That's
burny
true.
rubber, and then in a different environment, other people don't get the flavors come out like him either. Like, I'll try something and be like, what the heck? And then Hilbert, look at it, and I'm like, oh shit, like, it was the same cut, I got it from him, but I still...
That's another thing that people don't realize, that, I mean, technically, if you really want to get on, like, the technical lingo term of it, when we're talking about, like, strains, it's not even the right word, it's cultivars and phenotype, genotype, and when we really break it down, a phenotype is your environment matters. So I can have the same genotype, like you can give me a cut and I can bring it to my environment, and that technically makes it a whole new phenotype because that environment plays such a big role. But we're so used to saying the Death Star, or, you know what I mean? So it's really...
Yeah, like strain, isn't that that's like related to like viruses or things like that, not plants or, so I've heard that.
But it's so weird because like we're so ingrained in talking about it like that. We all know.
Yeah.
We all kind of know what we're talking about as we say it, and context clues and everything like that. But yeah, it's so weird because like, are we really gonna make like the argument like, no, we have to be talking cultivars? Like, no, it's not. It's not worth the argument because we still know. But yeah, that's one thing that I feel like people don't realize is your environment makes a big difference. Is like it can change. Sometimes it'll be gassy, or sometimes it'll be burnt rubber. It just depends on where it's at. So, and the Team Death Star cut thing, in all honesty, I didn't realize how controversial of a subject that was till probably like a year ago.
No.
Like some people get real particular about. Let me see the ball. Come here. Sorry about the bigs. Come here, Piggy. Yeah, some people get real picky about like the smallest of things in our industry.
Sure.
And I feel like we should all be just one big community, not segregated in our own little things. It just kind of is what it is. So you said you've got the Lemon G. I hear you said the G13 too, or no? That was something we were talking about.
That was earlier. That's like, see, this story goes decades. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I'm saying. I feel
how
like we can
deep
talk genetics all day.
Yeah,
that's what
so
brought me down there was that original G13 from when I was.
He moved here.
Well, there, to where we're at now, Meg's.
Right. Yeah. From his home.
Chasing that, and then that's my whole history of cannabis is following that plant, which we lost, but we do have.
That's all right with me. I don't.
We don't have the original one, but we have a cross of it that from seed that's pretty darn close in my opinion. It's a slight variation, but
of the G13,
the one that of the original, and I'm not sure if it was a 88 G13 hash plant cross or if it was just the airborne, but I'm pretty sure it was the hash plant cross.
Is it wash well? Do you know?
I don't know. We never washed
it. We
it.
didn't do that back then.
It was not a great yielder. It's not, but super strong and just very unique. I don't even know. I wouldn't say garlicky, but it's
still unique.
Yeah.
So unique.
I don't know how to describe the terps on it. But
I was about to say like it's kind of. How would you like? What kind of notes? If you like creamy, gassy?
No, it's like
if you had to broaden
gassy, chemi kind of.
Okay.
But super strong. Well, I don't know what it tests at because we've never done testing on potency wise or whatever. It may only be 20% or like the Chem Dog, but it rocks you every time. It's very
right.
And then or the Afghani Mango, super strong. That was one that's huge yielder that. Originally from Youngstown that we had
ran that for
from
decade, 12 years straight, right?
Pretty much Afghan Mango, Lemon G, Death Star, and you pop in the other varieties. But
I mean, Dumpster was
stuff that like when I was a kid, like that was the stuff that's like that was the big stuff. That was the stuff people were really, really looking for in Ohio. Like, wow. Yeah. That's pretty crazy. I mean, there's still people today that are still looking for the Lemon G cuts and crosses.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually getting ready to reverse it and get some feminized pollen, and we're going to start, like I said, we're going to start working projects for Appalachian Girls specifically to try to create our own stuff with some of our heritage strains, our vintage stuff that we just our history from being in Appalachia. That's what brought us through, so work with those and then have the new stuff that everybody likes, and we'll see what comes of it, but that's in the near future.
So what are some of the genetics that are your favorite today that you're excited to be working with?
Oh, man.
I know that's a whole basket of stuff with 80 different stuff that you got to go through. Like,
Yeah.
Let's say, what's your
I mean,
top 3 genetics that you're excited to breed with? Let's ask that.
to breed with,
Yeah.
well, definitely the lemon.
The lemon G.
Yeah, and then probably the Afghan mango too. I want to try to make that purple.
Afghan mango. I don't
Afghan
even know what
mango.
that is. That sounds
Yeah.
interesting.
And I don't know the background on it. I don't know exact genetics. This is from 04 from a buddy that's now has passed away. From Youngstown. And he brought a whole handful, and that was the best out of all of it. And that was been around for years down there. Now it's kind of hard to come by, I guess, but that was the money maker for a long time.
A lot of the people there.
So what kind of terps would you say that one has, the Afghan mango? Does it kind of have like a fruity terp?
Yeah,
Yeah, a little bit. But
it's not
like
mango-y, but
depend on how people grew it. It could be really haze dominant sometimes. But like if you did it right, if it had that right environment, like what we've seen repeatedly in different situations, it is like more like rotten fruity.
Okay.
Hazy
that's a
type,
good,
like
good
rotten
description.
fruit. But the thing I love most about the AM, the Afghani mango, was when you blazed a bowl of it, or when your buddy blazed a bowl of it, and you left that room because you were doing something else, and you come back, you could smell what strained was burnt. You know what I mean? Like it was unmistakable. Someone was burning mango. So
that's what I love about the Durban Poison is it's hard to describe the smell as anything other than like Durban Poison, maybe Jack Hare.
Yeah.
But like it's hard to really describe that smell, but you know that smell when you smell it. I think those are the things that really leave memories in people's minds, and it's
like a nostalgia thing almost. You
Mm-hmm.
know? It's like that was
Amen.
when I was a kid in blueberry, and then I got the blueberry muffin and the blueberry cupcake from Humboldt Seeds, and I was like, okay, well there it is. It's mystery solved. We finally got the blueberry terps again. You know what I mean? Which is super cool. It's like, but it's a nostalgia thing.
Yeah. I feel like it's the closest we have to time traveling.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's people that say that we have a bunch of stuff there's light time traveling, but it's not. Like, for me personally, within my lifetime, this is the closest I expect is just that nostalgia feeling of like, oh man, like hearing that sound or that smell just really brings you back, and you're like, oh man, I remember the first time I smoked this.
Yeah.
Like,
that's true.
I did that with that G13 cross not too long ago, and I was like, pack this in. What's
Yeah,
this?
that's what. Yeah, he did that to me. I'm like, what the heck is this? I hadn't had it in a decade.
And there was a couple other buddies' favorite. You know, it was just that's what we had. That's what
that G13 taste, man.
In 02 or that was like the best bud around. You know?
Yeah,
by far. It was Beasters.
There was this Afghani cut
before
which
that.
That was actually the first plants I ever got was that Afghani, but
Oh,
no one has it. It's long gone. But that's what, like this Afghan, which to me it didn't grow like an Afghan anyway. But it was that's what I would call roadkill skunk. But you know that's I mean that's what I would know. This Afghani from the mid to late to early. Mid 90s to late 90s, not very much into the early 2000s. It was gone pretty much.
Actually,
2000s.
On that note, do you have anything within your cuts that has that skunky terp? Because that's one that I know people really see after, and it's just it seems like it's kind of faded. It seems like it's through prohibition, it's kind of been caught.
Yeah, they grew it because people get busted with it.
Yeah,
so it's like we can't have this anymore. Get rid of this. This is like. Yeah, I know that Hemichiba 517 legend. He does a lot. He's got a bunch of the Hemichiba gear. So he's got the RKS, the Mad New Skin, the Acapulco Gold, a bunch of those different ones. He's done a lot of work with his stuff.
That's really old stuff.
But the Hemichiba, yeah.
Acapulco Gold.
Well, he was that Hemichiba. Are you from? He's actually passed. He just died a couple years ago in a motorcycle accident. But he was a preservationist of all the stuff. Alaskan cannabis.
Collective?
Something like in that collective, but it's cachet maybe, something like that. But yeah, he preserved all that and would and 517 got a bunch of the genetics directly from him. But yeah, great shout out 517 legend.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
But that was the RKS, but that's what they said too. Like I listened to the podcast with, oh gosh, what's his name? I can't remember now. But they say it's like a 1 in 25, and it's still may not be the RKS that you're thinking of. You know what I mean?
Right.
So everybody probably has their own RKS, and no one, you know.
Yeah. And then it's again, so a lot of this comes down to not only is it the fact of like we have so much diversity within like a strain or a cultivar. You got like, even if it is the same cut, we're still going into the fact of like, well, the different environment makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So unless we replicate that exact environment that they had back then, like it's not going to be the exact same. It's just going to be remotely
Slightly
reminiscent
tweaked.
Yeah.
at the very least.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah.
What have you been digging on, strain wise or
Strain.
cultivar wise?
So I've actually got this Durban Sherbet crossed with Sugar Shack by Schwale or Farmhouse Studio Genetics. So there's a guy out in PA, Pagoda Seeds, that got these Durban poison seeds from a guy out in Area 101 in Northern California, and then he took that, crossed that with something, I don't remember what it was, but then he entered that as a hash into the Emerald Cup, and it very much had the Durban poison terps, but it washed true to the Durban. So Durban poison's always been my
favorite
thing always. And
Close to your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, the first time we grew it at the cultivation center I was working at, I just fell in love with it, but it was one of those plants that it was so short and so small as a production facility, we couldn't keep it. Man, I even tried talking them into like, what if we don't take time pruning it and defoliating it because we know that it's not going to grow out super crazy, and then we just send it all to processing and blast it. Like, it makes the best BHO. Why don't we just do that? They weren't having it. I mean,
Yeah.
I tried my
Numbers
best.
weren't working.
Yeah, they're like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
it's just, and I'm like, but yeah, so like the terps though, they were just fantastic. So I'm trying to find that terp in something that yields well and washes well. So Sugar Shack is something that Schwale has always been breeding specifically for hash making. After this, I'll probably show you some of their pictures and stuff like that because they do photography and they use that within it, and it's really cool some of the pictures they have. But so those two crossed together, I should, in theory, get a bunch of diversity, but I should get some type of Durban poison that washes and just dumps. And if not, I get a Durban poison cross, which I'm okay with that too. To be honest.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, I know, right? That's the hard part.
It's like choose your own adventure. Here we go. Right.
Right. That's honestly the cannabis game in general.
Yeah,
It's just there's so much to it that people don't realize. It's like I've got a lot of diversity that I'm going to be choosing out of just those because I'm choosing from 2 giant baskets of genetic pools. It's like, wow. It's like I'm not like purebred breeding. I'm over here like grabbing stuff from like a bunch of mutts. It looks like essentially if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. So something that you're interested in. What are genetics that you personally have been super excited for?
Man, I tell you what, I'm never as excited about the genetics as I am from the grower that produces them. You know,
I
like,
can definitely agree with that.
I mean, you get a lot of strains in the good grower's hand, and it's like all those strains you counted out last time. Now they're good again. You know, it's
like,
like,
whoa, what happened here?
So that's my thing. I like to just like smoke his pot a lot. You know? It's tasty.
I get it. I see why.
And I kind of, so I've thrown the whole genetics thing aside because, you know, my passion is with plant biology.
Okay.
And in grad school, after I was done, I was like, I don't want to do anything more around plants that I don't like to do right now because I needed to like get established. So like genetics is always one of those things that I wanted to put off and just really nail later. But I'm clueless, dude. Like you'd think,
This
like
is a
when.
perfect little unison there.
Oh yeah, dude. It's like Willie and Waylon. You know what I mean? Like it works. So I'm excited to have a great team around us, and I'm excited to have a good partner where it's like, when I want clones for like my tent, I'm like, well, what has he been hype about? But the one thing different, I guess, is the Illudium. That's what I want to get that back, because I'm more into smoking all day, and I like that lower THC. You know, I'm into the whole philosophies of the entourage effect and the work of Meshulam and Ethan Russos and those guys. So it's like, I'm really excited about trying to bring that THC level down in cannabis. You know, like everybody's like prohibition style. You know, like drinking moonshine. Heck no. Like, I'm gonna go drink a Jackie O's Who Cooks For You, you know, like 5.5%, because I like the taste, you know, like same with cannabis. I want to smoke all day and not be super fucking stoned. Yeah. I just love cannabis, you know, so I think that Illudium.
The ritual, the tradition.
Right.
I get it.
Right. So I'm looking for, the Illudium I heard is really low, which means we could fit in other cannabinoids. Yeah. You know, the THC is 15% lower than these 30% out there, which means we can now fit 15% more cannabinoids in that same structure. You know, so
is there any minor cannabinoids or terpenes that you specifically are focused on like to see?
I wish, but like I just hear them all and I'm like, wow, I wish I had enough knowledge to really understand if, you know, that's where it's at. You know I could read something, but like Matt was saying, we've never had the opportunity to really test our shit. So it's like, to read it and take someone's word for it, that ain't me. I like to smoke the shit and then know, oh, the shit I smoked did have this much and I did feel this way. Yeah. Versus like just randomly trying to say, oh, CBV was great. You know, I don't know. I haven't.
That's actually one thing that I do like about the Ohio's metric program. I personally take a little bit of claim to fame to this, because the cultivation center I was working at was that little Tweety bird in everyone's ear, like, yo, we need to put our terps on our products. Like, this is what's going to help us sell. We're a medical market, like you said, like the Dr. Ethan Russo entourage effect. Like, THC is just one of a plethora of factors that is ultimately affecting how you feel. Those terps, the way I used to describe it to patients in the dispensary, is like, yeah, the THC will give you like the high, but then the terps really determine how that high is going to go. Is it going to be something that's going to be anxiety inducing? Is it going to be something that's anti-anxiety? Is it going to make me sleepy? Is it going to make me want to go mow the lawn for 3 hours? Yeah. Like what's it going to do to me? And being able to smoke it, see the test results, smoke it, see the test results. And I feel like everyone's a little different. That's why medicines affect everyone a little bit different. You're never going to see something that 100% of the time does this 100% of the time in a person. That just doesn't happen. And if you study pharmacology, you'll see that really quick. Yeah. You're like, oh shit, yeah, I guess we are a little bit diverse here, aren't we? But yeah, I feel like that's just kind of where things should be, is being able to see those test results and go back to it, to where then I know, like me personally, I've learned throughout the medical program in Ohio that I really like terpenylene ostamine strains. Which is, if you look at most Durban poisons consistently, the top 3 terpenes tend to be terpenylene, ostamine, and then some type of caryophyllene variant. Beta caryophyllene or trans-caryophyllene. Yeah, that one's great for pain. Yeah. Well, you were saying about your sciatica, that's really good. It's also it also stimulates your CB2 receptor the same way your CBD does. So it's cool to have something in cannabis that is also stimulating that receptor too. Because there's so many things that it does help.
So how did you get all this knowledge of the endocannabinoid system? Because I heard you on your other podcast too, and it's like most people really ain't breaking it down on these culture type things about this. Like, where did you establish this knowledge?
Well, I feel like, remember how we were talking earlier about how like you have a tendency to just go into a rabbit hole and you're like, I can't get out of it. I kind of describe it as like almost like the touch of the tism type of thing. You're like, man, I cannot help myself but just like deep diving into some stuff. Don't bug me for the next 3 days because I'm learning this.
This is what I'm doing.
And it's just kind of the same thing I have, but with learning about it as a medicine.
Yeah.
Actually, prior to like 16, I was super against weed. I was super against all drugs. I was like, no, if you... I never deleted this post off my Facebook because I'll never forget posting it. I was like, if you smoke weed, don't talk to me, unfriend me. I was that guy.
That's bold,
And then I
bro.
found out that
That's
a couple
so
of
funny.
buddies of mine were smoking behind my back, and literally, like, I mean, like, we were out here playing video games, and they would dip off into the room, and I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And then I eventually figured it out, and I was like, hold on, I gotta do some research. And I started deep diving into it, watching documentaries. I learned about Dr. Ethan Russo, and I was mind blown. I'd seen these studies in vitro, like in like a lab sample, where they're showing that THC and CBD can kill cancer cells.
Yeah.
And I had recently just had my grandpa die of cancer, like lung cancer, and this was not the first cancer death close to me. So I'm like, bro, what do you fucking mean? We have something that can solve it?
Yeah.
Like, even if it's not like 100%, like, we have a path. Why are we not investing money into this? Like, so I started just deep diving into all of it, and I mean, I've
Maybe the
learned.
reason behind the legalities that was all along, huh?
Oh yeah, dude. It's when you learn.
It's
We're
crooked.
not going
The
that
whole
way.
way up's crooked.
Oh,
Since
dude.
the hemp,
Nixon.
Yeah.
Nixon and Reagan's time, like the
Well, you
Controlled
can't-
Substances Act as a
just
whole.
the hemp.
Don't get this
The hemp
conspiracy
tax.
theorist
Yeah.
going over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, the Hemp's Tax Act.
Yeah,
Because
don't.
they
I
wanted
mean,
the
like
Tax Act. Yeah,
Tax
the
Act.
Hemp
Tax Act of 37,
Yeah.
1937. I think that
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
correct.
which I will say that was not the first law regarding cannabis on the books, but that was definitely the first one where you're like, wait a minute, why are we now taxing this when we used to like it was such an important crop that we were able to pay our taxes in hemp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like-
Oh yeah.
The first law regarding cannabis in the colonies and the states was literally like requiring farmers to grow it because it was
They
such an
needed it.
important crop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's wild.
Mind-boggling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again, we can go into this all day. I
Yeah,
love to go into this.
I was gonna say, like, don't ever take my class. You should be teaching my class, bro. Like, you got it. Dude. You got some knowledge of it. A lot of people don't really.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. This was my first year. I had to learn it with the students. And now I'm like, shit. Like, now I can say, yeah, the shit he's saying, this is true.
I mean, it's all out there.
Yeah,
It's
right.
hard to
But,
find it. You got to learn to sift through everything the same way you would for.
so the
finding good
Emperor
clothes.
Wears No Clothes was one of our textbooks, you know.
Okay. Would you believe I've actually never read that book?
Oh, wow.
I mean, I kind of feel like we're living that right now.
Yeah.
I understand the premise. You want to just kind of like briefly give us the overview of it, because I'm sure there's so many people out here that have never even. They've heard the name Emperor Wears No Clothes, but they don't really know it. So how would you?
Well, that was written by Jack Herrera, and he basically documented all these historic patterns in all the history of hemp and like what they use hemp for, you know, everything from sales to ships and how hemp basically got over here, and about like what you were touching on, I think, on one of your podcasts. See, I looked into you a little bit. You were touching on, you know, when we went to China and we basically, like, we were involved with some crooked ass shit, you know, like we imported genetics out of there illegally.
Yeah.
But that's part of what helped establish it. You know, that's all well documented by other people, but Jack Herrera is the one who actually took the time to like really compile a lot of these stories and put it in a format that's great for stoners and
Yeah.
people
Yeah,
that want
definitely
to, you
about
know,
that.
learn
Yeah,
more
sure.
about it. And but man, is it just crazy. But whatever you do, don't bring up DuPonts around me, because like then I just get on a tangent.
Wasn't that
like,
DuPont? Isn't that the guys that made Roundup and all that stuff? Isn't
Right,
that whole
well-
story of the pesticides the whole pesticide issue that we're facing as a society is DuPont, isn't it? And their oil and stuff too.
A lot of the petroleum, a lot of their byproducts turned into be a bunch of crap. You know what I mean? But like when they had byproducts that could produce nylon, is when they really kind of that coincided with the hemp industry, because now people weren't buying the hemp shit, hemp, and then they just basically were like, oh, we got this chemical, let's go after hemp. You know, so like that's part of the history of like why a lot of people believe it was decriminalized started with that big money. Yeah. But then let's take a step back. See, now here I go.
No,
I'm going to say it, but
affiliated with Henry Enslinger, because I know Henry Enslinger is a large portion of it. I feel like it was really like a large culmination of big money industries that seen how versatile cannabis and hemp was, and was like, yo, like we can't let them catch on to this, and are like stomp it out now, which honestly kind of feels like how Metric is as a whole right now. It's just like stomp everyone else out competition wise, that way we don't have other competition. It's just a bunch of really big rich guys, man.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But the main thing they're missing is no heart. Like that's what Ohio's missing right now with these products. It's like that you have all these stories of all these multi-state operators and all this stuff, which is fine, not against every one of them, but it's all this outside interest, right?
Yes.
And that's led to why people still want to buy their stuff on the black market half the time. Not that I'm supporting that at all, but you know, the dispensary stuff, you don't get to see it half the time. It's just crap, and it ain't even like the product.
You can't see it till you've already purchased it a lot of times.
Right, and it's just produced with no heart too, and I think that transcends down into the product. You know,
which I'd actually push back on that and say that there's a lot of heart in it, but the problem is it's not the people that are running it.
Right.
The problem is the operators, because like I bet you there's a lot of people that are watching this right now that are operators within the industry, and they have a ton of heart and they try so hard, but the guys that are above them won't let them make the changes that they know that are needed. They're like, bro, we've got all these mold issues. If you just fix these fans and create more airflow within the room, we could fix it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, dude, but those are the guys that's where the heart's at. But honestly, I feel like the industry's kind of crushing it. I feel like these big guys are making it to where it's hard to have a passion for it. And I feel like where Zach got at on the first podcast is that's like the Ganjier program opened a ton of doors for him, especially within the metric industry, but it makes him want to close them all because of the metric industry. Yeah. He made the comment that he never wants to get onto that scale to where he hates his life. He hates working with the plant. I can see right now, like, you guys have that passion. You guys are at a scale, you guys have learned to operate lean enough to where it's still a passion project. It's still all, and that's where cannabis should be as a passion project, because that's where all the quality is. You don't see quality coming out of, I'm not even going to shout any names.
Yeah, don't get me started on names either.
But a lot of metric. I mean, let me just say this way. There is almost no one in Ohio that is producing the quality to represent the price that they're pushing you now. $50 a tenth. I'm sorry, but no one in Ohio produces anything that's worth $50 for an eighth, let alone $50 for a tenth.
Yeah.
If you guys hear that in the background, that's my dog rolling over there because he wants attention.
Yeah. Biggie.
But yeah, that's I feel like that's where a lot of it falls short, is then all of a sudden because of that we have no passion across the board for the company, but you guys actually still have that, and you guys have stayed small and stayed lean in making sure that you're doing that, and that's why your quality shows through so much.
Well, thank you, brother, for saying that, because that's what we're shooting at.
Yeah, that's our goal. Yeah,
for sure. And I feel like more people should be shooting for that. They don't, but they should.
Well, because of restraints most of the time, like you said, mentioned too. So
yeah. I mean, we were talking about, like, you guys are interested in getting into the rec market, but currently the bar of entry is so high. I mean, like, I don't even think unless you could potentially get in for one of the 50 social equity licenses.
Well, that was one of the things we were trying to angle, like New York State did, with trying to give access to some of the hemp farmers. Me and Josh went up and spoke at the House Finance Committee.
Yeah,
in
front
February.
of Congress, it was awesome.
In front of the
dude.
state, and said a few words about it, because
I'll send
it
you
was
some
actually
copies of both
it was actually because it was
Yeah, I'll put it
threatening
up on my,
the business, because they
Instagram,
wanted to
sure.
do away with full spectrum CBD or just full spectrum hemp products, and
Yeah.
so that would have put us directly out of business. So
Yeah.
we were like, well,
Matt had on a collared shirt and a tie, dude. He
Yeah,
looked so
yeah,
good up
yeah.
there talking to Congress.
Yeah,
that's great.
it was an experience, to say the
Yeah.
least. That's for sure. But,
Yeah.
I respect you guys for that a lot, because there was actually the most recent, like one of the House bills I really wanted to go, but I just didn't have the time and I didn't have the ability to.
Yeah.
So like, I respect you guys a lot for being able to do that. That's a lot. It really is. It's not, but it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's just something you do, but at the same time, it's like a majority of people will never do that.
Right. No, that's what that was like. Yeah, it was directly affecting us. It was going to directly affect our lives. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
if there's ever a time, now is the time to do it. You know, definitely way out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
It was an experience. Yeah, definitely an experience. And we may have to go back. Who knows? You know, everything's in
Yeah.
limbo, and where we're at with everything right now, who's to say? So, but you know, we would love the, you know, push that, you know, because it seems like it's been okay for New York, or what, you know, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
priority
what's
access.
We've had some conversations. A couple of our team has had conversations with some of the people that passed that legislation, or were we're spearheading it, I guess, right? And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Joey talked to them.
So let me ask you this: what are the rules for the hemp program for both the federal? We'll start off with the federal, and then we'll go into the state level. Like, what do the guidelines, the hoops that you guys essentially have to jump through look like on the federal level? Because I know currently, like, there's the amendment that's going through that they're trying to pass, where they're trying to close the quote loophole of the federal hemp, saying that if it's under 0.03% THC, then it's technically considered hemp, and anything above that is considered cannabis. So I know there's that part, but is there anything else that federally control-wise you guys really have to, like, it's just really annoying that you have to work through?
We have, yeah, for me actually, on my end, on the cultivation side, we have to report our crops each time we have a crop. So every time we go from our vegetative room into our flowering room, we have to report that to the farm sign, or the Farm Service Agency, which is a federal. It has to do with the federal, because we're a registered farm through the farm.
The NRCS.
FSA. This is
yeah.
FSA, and so we have to do a crop report with them. And our first crop report went great, because we did one cultivar, but this last crop we did 4, and boy, that really threw them for a loop. And this will be the 6th time. We still haven't gotten it right on the 6th time, so that's been a huge hurdle. But there's not a lot of people doing it, so when you go to the FSA office, they're just kind of like, well, you're the only one that's ever come in here to do this, so they don't really know. And
so they're learning.
we're trying to learn. Everybody's learning, even though we're 4 years into this, and but the oversight is there with the testing and reports. We have to report. We have through ODA, everything. ODA is kind of the oversight for us. There's not a whole lot of stuff on the federal. Ohio Department of Agriculture.
Okay, so that's the state level.
Yeah. So federal, really, it's just our FSA reports. There's really no oversight on that unless they were to change something in this new farm bill coming up, which there's been talks and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at with that. But hopefully, maybe the big argument's always been raise it from the 0.3 to 1% for hemp, because
I thought the amendment that they're trying to do is to try and make it lower to where that's not even a thing at all.
Well, for the
federal hemp amendment bill.
I'm talking argument for hemp farmers to be able to, because it's so hard. Like, if we were at a 1% THC threshold, that would allow us to take most of the varieties full term, versus having to cut early, or to harvest early, due to keeping it under our regulatory guidelines. and having to destroy a crop, I guess. So
Yeah, which is always frustrating. You get something that's like, oh, this is beautiful.
oh yeah,
And then because it tests hot
Yeah.
over the 0.3%, all of a sudden now you have to kill it, which
I had
I
to
think
do
it's-
one
Yep.
time. Yeah, so
I've been
it
there.
was an experience.
I'd imagine that's you bashing your head into a wall type
gosh,
of thing.
you're
You're like,
like,
man,
okay.
what the hell do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, what? Look at it, it's
Destroy.
beautiful.
Yeah, destroy. What? Yeah, that was.
Can I burn it?
Yeah,
Like,
it would last.
compost
It was. Yeah, I tried. Yeah, no, you had to. I had to run it over with my brush hog.
Not even allowed to compost.
Couldn't even compost it.
Oh, what?
They had to come down and actually observe the destruction, take pictures, make sure everything was destructive.
Wow.
And you can't burn it because it's a non-burn season when we're harvesting. So
Yeah.
I was like, well.
That's fun. That's
So I had to
just
hook up to the
foul.
tractor and brush hog it over. And it was just, yeah. So
See, now, that's one thing I feel like a lot of people in the metric industry could potentially really learn from this episode is that a lot of people that are in metric don't realize that there is still oversight in the hemp industry. A lot of people will make the argument that there is no oversight in the hemp industry, and that's why we see things like Delta 8 and this, that, and the other out there. But that's not true. It's just
well, like
it's
we kind
still everyone's learning as we're going, as we're creating these industries.
and like we talked earlier about the total THC state versus the Delta 9 state. So Ohio is a total THC state, so they add the THCA to your THC number minus the formula, which I'm not sure exactly off the top of my head, but and then add those together to come with it. Whereas, instance, Tennessee, and this is, I'm not sure if they're still that way, but they were as of about 2 years ago, they only test for just Delta 9, so there's no THC number added whatsoever to that. So that keeps us, can we cultivate THCA flower here? And they said absolutely not. So not in the state of Ohio. But you can by all means purchase it from another state and sell it in this state, but you can't cultivate it here.
That's so wild.
Yeah. So
Like,
we
so
could
that's where the loophole for the THCA flower is in other states,
Right.
essentially,
Right.
because of the federal oversight. They allow for it, but
Yeah.
the state oversight says no, we
So
can't.
Tennessee, for instance, I was referencing Tennessee. When I went there, they had basically a walk-in dispensary. You did have to be 21 or older to go in, but they were selling THCA flower that was grown at the University of Tennessee,
That's kind of cool.
grown legally, and it looked decent, you know. But we'll see. I haven't been back there in a few years, but I'm getting ready to go back, so I'm going to see if it's still there and see.
Right.
But for instance, they can cultivate there because they're the Delta 9 state, not a total THC state. So
So they're basically going by like the federal guidelines
Yep.
rather than
Yep.
further enforcing.
we interpreted, Ohio decided to interpret it the total THC way, where the federal left it up to the states to decide and come up with their own programs, just to abide by the 0.3 and a few other stipulations. And then the
Yeah,
state
it's
by
a shit show.
state,
isn't it?
state by
Well,
state.
it is, dude. It's all, and it's
And
just
it's all
across the
different,
board.
hard to
It's a
follow.
lot.
Yeah, so it's just.
We're all arguing how to regulate it. No one's actually asking us guys that know what's up.
We're
and
even
work
trying to
in the
do
industry.
one together instead of just everybody does their own thing and we're going to regulate, so it's just,
Yeah.
But if they do, take it completely off and they can do interstate trading, that'll open up a lot of doors too. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, at this point, the fact that we could cross state borders to build brand is a stronghold for us. We're still learning this process. We're trying to get in and get established the Appalachian Girls and let people know what we're all about.
Yeah.
And being able to sell to multiple states without having all that going on is definitely a strength that we're trying to play into.
So, is there any oversight from Ohio that would disallow you from being able to travel to other states?
Not with our CBD, no.
Okay.
But, now if we wanted to travel back into the state, we could even do it with somebody else's THCA,
but not
but
your own,
not our own.
because your license is through you. That's so.
Yeah.
Again, that is so
It could
wild.
be packaged under our label and everything, but we just couldn't be the ones doing it. to have to
fully grow it, process it on this land
And,
over
yeah,
here. But if you do it on that land over
It's okay.
there, it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
These imaginary lines get you every time. Huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Blurred
That's
lines.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like that's one of those things again where with regulations, I feel the industry is failing and everyone's against each other rather than being like one solid community. And it's kind of frustrating because I mean, you see like Metric, like I said before, it is saying there's no regulations behind the hemp program, but there is regulations behind the hemp program. Actually, ours is more than other states apparently. So like that's not the case, but we still have people in Metric that are like petitioning the state.
That's
and
like
petitioning.
Josh's favorite word, cooperation.
Yeah,
We gotta
it's
cooperate,
true.
even though it's still competition. We still need to cooperate together. You know, it's
Yes.
like there'll be more. You know, it's just kind of like referencing. You know, you have your Walmart brands or you have your Gucci brands. You know, all those people need to be serviced, and you know, it's, where you go. What's your preference? I guess a lot of people see high end, and they determine high end with high price tag. May or may not be the. But that's that's how people interpret things different ways.
Yeah. Which that's also why I try and do the content that I do, doing reviews and things like that. And I feel like it's important because the way I do it, I try and educate people on why this is quality.
Right.
Not just like, yeah, man, this is fire.
Awesome.
I'm like, yo, no, like this is fire because like the dry and cure is done really well.
Yeah.
The smell on this as well. If you look at it, all the trichome heads look intact. It smokes good because like I can tell just off the dry hit that it's super terpy.
Right.
I get this taste as I actually hit it, like getting very in detail
And
with things.
there's people that want that, and then there's some people that they don't care. They just want it cheap and just give me this, and this is fine because it's the joint I'm smoking this week. But for people that are doing it on a regular basis, there's
standards, and everyone has different standards.
yeah,
And that's fine.
yeah.
Honestly,
absolutely.
I feel like that's one of those things that where, again, like a lot of these guys that are big money don't understand that there's a place for all of that.
Right.
Like, there's a place for those guys that buy cheap stuff.
Right.
Like, in all honesty, that's actually a majority of the market.
Yeah.
But there's also a very large portion of the market that cares about quality. I'll be honest, I'm a hash guy, I'm a rosin guy. And even within hash rosin, there's people that are like, well, I prefer full melt and I prefer rosin. That's just what it is. There's going to be specific niche markets for everything. That doesn't mean that there's not a market for it.
Or one's better, or one's
Yes.
whatever.
That's exactly it. So I feel like there's really a place for all of it.
Yeah.
And that's including CBD. Like, because technically you guys are right now growing mainly CBD flower, low THC.
Yep.
So
We like to call it low THC CBD flower.
Yeah.
The other way around,
yeah.
Just
I like that
like,
because it sells it better. Because it's there's still some technical THC in it,
right.
but it's really still CBD flower. And honestly, I
It's
think
all
that's great too.
cannabis,
Yes,
right?
yes. I've honestly kind of like that, to be honest, because there's there's a lack of it within the industry as a whole. There's a space, and especially for quality products, you know what I mean? There's just not a lot of quality CBD products out there. There's a lot of Walmart CBD products out there.
Yeah.
And
A whole lot of it.
if you guys ever heard of Future Compounds, he runs an Instagram page too, and he does a lot of education stuff. It makes me feel like I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, holy shit!
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that.
Oh, mind blowing. Yeah.
But no, one thing he actually said is to get an efficacious dose of CBD, you actually need quite a bit of it. And all the stuff we're looking at in the metric market, and the med market, and this, that, and the other, there isn't any CBD in a lot of our products. Like, there's some on the post-processing side that add a little bit, but it's like 10 milligrams here and there. That's really not an efficacious dose. And like you said, a lot of us would like to be smoking on something all day long. Why would I not be smoking on a CBD flower for my own health, for the taste, for the memory? Maybe I'm not trying to get super fucked up, but it's also not the end of the night. It's throughout the day. Like, I'm trying to be functional.
Yeah.
So.
Elevating.
Yeah,
Agreed.
it's a blessing just to be talking about this right now,
Yeah.
So
A long way from the beginning where we came from.
yes,
for
it
sure.
has.
Yeah, because you guys started, when did you guys say you guys started? Like 2000 or something?
2002.
Yeah, so that was back when, like, I know people are very short memory, but those were the days that things
Yeah.
were walking a very
Sketchy.
fine line.
Yeah.
Like, people were getting busted for bong in a head shop. I was
Yeah.
actually just having a
Followed home from the
conversation.
grocery store. He had followed home from the grocery store.
Yeah,
or something.
legit.
You know? Pulled over and then they're telling you, yeah.
Yeah, what you doing with that light there, bud?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? What do you
Yeah.
need all them nutrients for?
We're
Like,
coming home.
Yeah, at that store.
but I mean, like, this was an age where, I mean, like, this was around the time Tommy Chong got busted with a bong in a head shop type of thing. Like,
Over
we
the
couldn't
state
say
line.
bong in a head shop for
Yeah.
most of my childhood. I remember that being like a joke. I mean, now, like, the med program, that was how I used to reference it to people. Like, you can't technically smoke in the med program. Now you can because of rec.
Right.
But we used to be, if someone was saying that they were smoking their products, we would tell them, you're not allowed to purchase here right now.
Yeah.
Get out. So I'd be like, fair warn people, like, yo, this is like saying bong in a head shop. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, because that's right. Tommy Chong got arrested simply for selling bongs out of Canada. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that was
Crazy.
He wasn't even selling any weed. There was no THC in it. There was no.
Yeah.
They were new. They weren't even used. Like, yeah,
I forgot about
that's
that.
I was just talking to Darren Glass over in Painesville about this literally yesterday because I was around when he started. Was around the same time, and that was the Wild West back then.
Yeah.
Honestly, arguably in some ways better, in some ways. Like I said, like within the market now, it's just so hard because it's. Some people would argue it's oversaturated. Some people would say that it's just heavy competition.
The only thing that was better was the money.
Yeah,
Because that was
That's
$4,800 a pound, you
that's my
know.
point. That's why I'm saying
But
some people
the-
like that better. But
The
they
stress and
wasn't
paranoia that comes from doing that life for a decade or so.
I agree.
I'm just glad that we're making it out of there a little bit, you know what I mean?
I agree.
The money was great, but now it's like we're above ground and we're functioning, you know. I'm walking down the street smoking a joint, like,
Yeah.
and not only that, millions of other people now
They're
have
able to do it.
access to this medicine, so it's like, it was hard taking a step back, like, shit, make this black market cash or like go legalize. I'd rather make the cash, but all in all, it turned out to be better now, I think.
I agree.
You know?
I agree, and honestly, I agree on both from a traditional market side and a legal market side. I feel like both feel just safer in general. Like, you can operate within the traditional market. I know plenty of people that operate in Michigan's traditional market, and they aren't really worried too much about it.
Yeah.
Like, the way Michigan is now, any size grow is a minor misdemeanor.
Yeah.
You could have a warehouse, and that's a minor misdemeanor.
Okay.
Like, that's pretty nice to know that, like,
Yeah,
that's where
sure.
things should be going.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a plant. It's not, like, yes, you can say it's intoxicating, but you can also argue that it's less intoxicating than alcohol. I've seen a
I
study.
mean, I think that's a pretty convincing alcohol, is it not?
Yeah. I would agree.
I mean, like, but I mean, even then, you'll still see people that they've got reefer madness on the brain.
Oh,
Like, they grew up with it, and they really do think, like, unless we show them in a test study that this is less intoxicating, and but we have done those too.
Yeah.
I've seen one with driving, where they had people smoke and then drive, and they had people drink and drive. And what the study ultimately showed is that there was a time in which cannabis can be too intoxicating, but by that point, you already know it. The
Yeah.
person who's intoxicated by cannabis usually shows like, yo, like, I don't feel comfortable getting behind that wheel, man. Like, you're gonna have to talk me through it if I gotta do that. Like, I'm gonna sit in the stop sign. Like, but the guy who's drunk, he's like, yeah, man, I got it. Let's go. And it's like, bro, you've had like a fucking pint of alcohol. You need to chill the fuck out a little bit.
Yeah.
It's been an hour.
Yeah. That liquid courage.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's that moment of like, I really do feel like it's progress where we're going to. I feel like the more time passes, the more it becomes inevitable. They can't put the cat back in the bag. They
Yeah,
can't.
no way.
They're trying in Ohio. They're
It's-
really trying.
Yeah.
Which
Yes.
again, I didn't know Ohio was a total THC state. So that makes it even more difficult to operate.
Well, there's so many people that once again, people misinterpret. It depends on who, whereas like there's a lot of people producing THCA and selling them at the clone fairs and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're growing it here and they're selling it here under the presumption that they're legal to do so.
Yes.
Because they've interpreted that law slightly different than what the ODA and Jim Belt
Yeah.
interprets the law.
And there's as far as that goes, there's really nobody coming after anybody because they don't have anybody to do it.
Yeah, there's no oversight committee that's specifically focused on that. And there shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Right.
I really don't think there should be.
No,
I think that the cannabis farmers markets that have been going on recently are awesome. I think personally, like, I get a little nervous buying out like that, but I feel like at the very least it's a good contact point to be able to meet up with everyone where I would then
community.
yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
To be able to make everyone's face and be like, oh, you got this stuff?
Yeah.
You got that G13
Right.
cross?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You should
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Open up doors.
Yeah. Open up doors and hopefully not bring home mites.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, that's actually exactly what I was saying. Like, because
Yeah.
even if my table let's say I have a bunch of these clones out here on the table and I'm selling them, but the reality is like the guy 3 tables down has some mites. That means that I probably just got mites
Or PM or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be.
Which, depending on what the thing is, you can deal with it.
Yeah,
But
if
it's just a
something
matter
you
of
really want. You're like, I'll wash this thing. I'll get it clean.
But that's why I was saying I feel like it's almost better to meet someone and then just be like, yo, I'm just gonna like go to your like wherever you want to meet at and just get your clone from you there, because then I don't have to worry about the guy 3 tables down from you.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that don't have the care and quality that you guys do, because you guys clearly do give a shit. But there's a lot of people there that are just like, I'm in it for the money. And that's usually the people that, honestly, I feel like as the market continues and the market evolves, I feel like a majority of the people, for example, in Metric, these big business guys, they don't operate lean. I can tell you firsthand experience, they do not operate lean.
He loves his weed.
I'm all about lean.
Yeah.
I'm all about lean, man.
Six Sigma, lean,
Yeah.
all
I'm all
about it.
about it.
But that's,
I need to get. I've slacked off lately, though. But I don't need the external. I know when I get back to the shop, I'm gonna be whipping back through, making sure all my
everything's
shit's
like
right.
all 5S, everything's labeled, everything has a home.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cultivation center I was in, I helped implement a lot of that stuff, and it did well because of the fact of, in a lot of these places, turnover rates really bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, again, like I was saying before, like, there's a lot of people that expect one thing and they get into the industry, they're like, oh shit, this is work.
Yeah.
This is like work. This is indoor farm work.
Yeah.
So for that, plus leadership and so many other things in which they're failing, I really do expect a lot of these guys to just kind of fall off, and the guys that are producing quality to slowly eventually take their places. And you guys have positioned yourself into a place where you probably be the guys taking those over, buying the licenses from people once they've come down in price, and they're like, well, I can't sell a $50 tenth here. And it's like, well, maybe if you made it super fire, you could. But
Outside.
Biggie, wanna go outside? Alright, we're gonna take a little smoke break here, and we will be right back.
Alright. I need to use the restroom too.
And here we are back. We got everything set up for the smoke sesh, so get right back into it. Actually, I feel like this is a lightweight, good segue to talk about the fact that you guys actually also do processing too. So what kind of processing do you guys do? Do you guys do like hydrocarbon, solventless? What all do you do?
All solventless. We actually use the resonator. We've had pretty good success with that. A couple different methods, still fine tuning. Never stop fine tuning it, but
Everything's always a process. There's no such thing as perfect, only better.
yeah, there you go.
I feel like that's we were just talking while the camera's off for a second there about like Six Sigma and lean and all that stuff, and I appreciate this man for being one actually in the industry that understands that stuff, because I feel like that's where, again, this is going to set you guys apart in so many ways. Like, you guys are also affiliated with the Cannabis Museum, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So
The
tell me
cannabis.
about that. What is that? Because I didn't even know about that till Zach the Ganjier told me about it. So what even is that? Where is it at? What's it about?
Oh yeah. So the Cannabis Museum is right outside of Athens, Ohio, and what they are is a collection of hemp and cannabis artifacts that Donnie E. Warshafter has put together over the years.
Pretty extensive.
Pretty extensive, and Donnie was one of the co-founders of GW Pharmaceutical, is how he got his start. But since then, how I know Donnie, how we know Donnie, is he's just been a huge mentor in the cannabis space for people interested in cannabis. So all around town, ever since I can remember, he's been doing work in the Athens area, activism work, attorney work, and just spreading the knowledge about hemp and its many uses.
Yep.
But since then, the Cannabis Museum has set a platform for us to be able to do things like the home grow workshop. So the last Wednesday of every month here in the summer, me and Matt and a couple other area growers do a workshop there, teaching people from the beginning up kind of how to handle their first legal home grow, right? So it's exciting because a lot of our crowd is a little bit older, and
they want to learn.
Yeah,
They want to know.
yeah. It ain't people like us. Everybody like our age or younger, anybody that's grown one plant in their closet already thinks they know how to grow. That ain't who's showing up, you know what I mean? It's,
But they, I don't know,
it's
honestly,
outside.
they probably should be, because there's so much to learn. Like, I've spent a lot of time doing it myself, and I feel like it doesn't matter where I'm at, there's always someone that knows more. It feels like there's always more
something
to
learn.
learn.
Yeah.
And even if it's not within our own industry, it feels like a lot of the things we take from the cooking industry. We take it from other industries and we implement it into our own. That's why, like, again, the whole community thing, the more of a community we have, the better of an industry we have, the better the plants get, the better the products get. It all gets. Just the more community we have.
couldn't agree more.
So, you said Donnie, like, you guys know him personally, and he was involved in GW Pharmaceuticals?
Yeah, he was one of the co-founders of it, and that, like, the details of that, I wouldn't be the best person to talk to. You just got to come to the Cannabis Museum and meet the guy and meet the staff and see the amazing stuff that's there. But they've definitely set a platform. Appalachian Girls vended there during the 420 event this last year.
That's awesome.
It's just a cool little place, man. If you're down near southeastern Ohio, it is the place to be.
Yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
it's definitely a spot that I personally want to check out. Like I said, Zach the Ganjier was actually telling me about it, and I was like, wow, I didn't even know that was a thing. And I've spent my whole life in Northeast Ohio, so I think it's partly wise because I'm up here, not down there.
Yeah.
But man, this sounds like something that I really want to see, especially knowing that Donnie was a part of it. For those who don't know what GW Pharmaceuticals is, so they're basically a pharmaceutical company who has made either synthetic or semi-synthetic THC and CBD and labeled them sativix and epidiolex. And those are the things that, like, a doctor can actually prescribe to you and is legal on a federal level. So that is pretty freaking cool. Like, nobody really knows about that, but it's a thing. And that's in America. That's not in Israel. That's right here. That's pretty freaking cool that that's in Ohio. Like, so what kind of things would you see in the museum? Like,
You would see artifacts, bottles, tincture bottles of, like, 100+ year old.
Old farming tools and techniques for doing the hemp and stripping and making the
Hackles.
all kinds of just different and showing techniques. And then they have the hempcrete wall that they have, just all kinds of
that's
cool
cool.
stuff. Yeah, there was
Like the one that you would see, like where everyone sees the video of it being blasted by like some flames and shit like that.
yeah, probably similar.
Yeah, no, we let all
Yeah.
the students put the torch right up to it.
Yeah,
Really?
Lit the blowtorch and just sprayed
That's
it.
pretty cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
We
a
were-
little bit of everything out there. We got
So you guys bring the students there too?
Yeah, so like the Hawking history students we brought there, and
volunteer and
yeah, we try to make it, our interns, we try to encourage them to give volunteer hours there. But we haven't been able to completely force them to yet, but
Yeah.
that's coming soon.
I think they should. I feel like, especially if you're going to be in this industry, I feel like the more that you know about it, the history of it, the better it is. Like, this is a lot of stuff that is starting to slowly be coming back, but like a lot of it was kind of lightweight lost to history. I feel like that's partly what I try and do with a lot of my content is I like to bring that to people because yeah, it's all commonplace stuff. Like if you really wanted to just do a Google search, you can find all the same stuff that I'm teaching people, but it's the fact that it's all corrugated or colligated together in one spot, like the Jack Herrera book. Like honestly, after hearing that, like I'm gonna have to go buy that.
Oh,
It's probably
yeah.
expensive now.
No,
Probably
you
doesn't
can.
find
I'll
a real
send you the online version if you want it.
But a real version, as you already know.
Yeah, yeah.
I like the highlight shit.
Yeah, and mine's beat up, dude. It's been through it, you know.
So there's a book by, what is his name? Jason, fuck. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I keep wanting to say Russo, but I know it's not Russo, it's Ethan Russo. But he quotes him in it a couple of times. There's a book on Amazon called The Cannabis Terpene Experience. And the guy who wrote it's a PhD, Jason something. What the fuck is his last name?
Wow.
But
Yeah.
he details like so much of like where we're currently at knowledge wise. I feel like if you put all my knowledge into one book, I'm like, bro, how'd you get my brain?
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, like all my terpene videos are all strictly pretty much from that book and a couple Google searches, maybe like search through PubMed. But it's almost all like stuff that he's already talked about in the book. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely one that I would recommend to you.
Yeah, when you know the name,
Yeah.
other than Jason, something, text it to me.
I've got it in the other room, but what I was saying with it is, yeah, I like the highlight shit. So like having like a physical copy of the book, like
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
even if it's, I don't give a shit if I get the online copy and print it off myself and make it a fucking packet, just highlight through
Yeah.
it. I'm doing it.
tag it up.
Yeah, that's how I have to work.
Yeah.
Everybody laughs at me, like, you're all about the environment, but you print out everything you're trying to read. It's like, it'll be 10-page on a MacBook. I'm like, this is too much. Print it so I can mark it up.
It's that moment of like, man, well, if I could make it out of hemp paper, I would.
There you
Yeah,
go,
no
right?
kidding.
Yeah.
That's another thing that killed the industry is Henry Inslinger and the paper
He's
stuff.
the biggest enemy I have.
hmm But again, that's where it really all came down to is it's just big rich guys that are killing the industry, and now they're building the industry back, and they don't realize that they don't know how to run it, and we know how to run it, so we're gonna run it better.
Yeah.
And we're gonna produce a better product, and appreciate you guys for that.
Hey, we appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Good work on
Pleasure.
the Instagram videos too.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. I really do. Well, I know we're getting to a point where we're kind of getting a little short on time. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about?
Stargazer.
Matt. Oh, yeah.
Stargazer
Tell
Fest.
about it.
Well, come check us out at Stargazer. We'll be there first. I guess it's going to be the first Ohio official kind of. Well, I guess second if you count. I don't know. One of the earliest.
There was the
Cannabis
Red, White,
Festival.
and Smoke, but that was like super underground
Yeah.
type of thing.
Well, there
I
was
feel
the
like a lot of-
420 one at what was it? Ohio Cannabis one at 420 on 420 that we did. So I was kind of counting that because they had a band and stuff too. But yeah, should be a good event. Hopefully.
Stargazer
Looking
Fest, I
forward to it.
think.
That's in our neck of the woods actually. So
Yeah.
close to home.
If you like being out in the woods, I've been told that that one's actually going to be like a true stargazer type of thing.
Oh,
where
yeah.
There's not going to be a lot of light pollution. It's really out there,
Wisteria. Yeah, it's
which is
actually,
beautiful.
yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous out there. So that's our stomping grounds.
Yeah, that's how That's out in the cut, as we call it, out in the bush.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that that's going to be a really good one. I know the Ohio Cannabis Festival, that one got canceled, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Something about like the property was owned by someone that it wasn't by, which sucks because Nick T was going to be there too. I found out he was going to be hosting the competition. I'm like, well, that
Yeah.
man, I would have loved to hang with homie for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
get him out here to Ohio sooner or later to judge a
Yeah.
con soon. Trying to think what other events. There's Cano Bash. Cano Bash is coming up. Do you
Yeah.
guys know about that one?
Yep, down Chillicothe.
Yep.
Yep.
Papermaker Genetics is throwing that one.
Yeah.
There's another person I gotta get on here.
Are we gonna be
Yeah.
there for App Girls?
I don't know. I'm gonna be on vacation.
Oh yeah,
Family vacation.
that's right.
I
Just
feel
wanted
the
to
family
kinda
is
see.
always above everything.
Yeah. So we'll be taking our week summer vacation.
So maybe I'll see you there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Heck yeah. Where will people reach you if they're trying to reach out to you? Like where you using Instagram,
Yeah.
Twitter?
Instagram for sure. Josh.
Appalachian Girls Cannabis on Instagram, and also you can follow me while I help Ohio home growers do their first legal grows, and I answer some questions that I can on Instagram through soiled_obsessions. And Matt,
Buckeye Clone Collective for different genetics and different breeding projects with new stuff coming.
Like yeah, I mean with 80 cultivars, I'd imagine there's a lot of different varieties,
Yeah,
a lot
there's
of
a-
different fire in there for people to grab, man.
Yeah.
a lot of strains,
Yeah. List on
cultivars,
Yeah. There you go.
chemivars. I don't know.
Different for that.
You're right. But again, that's where it comes back to everyone's like, we all know. We all know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Same language.
And again, I'll in the description, I'll go ahead and tag a link to each one of these guys' profiles. Definitely check them out. Again, if you're an Ohio native, just like I am, you know, you've always got to support Ohio. Ohioans love supporting each other. So go ahead and check these two out. Not these two girls, but check out Appalachian Girls. All right, guys, I hope you like the podcast. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you would change if you would change anything. All right, guys, have a good one.